Okay, so in this video, I wanted to discuss the idea that the natural world acknowledges when somebody dies. Um, I already talked about I'm reading a book called Cure, Signs, and Witchery, and it's brought a lot of different theories into my mind that I'm really like, they're working on my mind. Like, I'm like, okay, do I really believe in this? Is this something I could incorporate into my work? Is this something I've experienced already? And yada, yada, yada. For such a small book, it has so much for me to offer. So, things keep popping in. But it was talking about how different, they call them either tokens, signs, or omens that somebody will say. I think there was one story where a man was going to go babysit a child and he saw the moonlight was shining on the grass, but there was no dew or anything on the grass and it hadn't rained or anything, so it was a kind of a weird experience for him to see that. And then oh, it's my cat. Okay, nobody's coming in. When he got there, the baby that he, or the child that he was supposed to be watching, had died. Sorry, I'm smiling because my cat's paw is coming out from underneath the door and it's adorable. Um, Another one talks about a woman's child was sick and they heard the rooster crow, and when the rooster had crowed, they went to check on the baby, and that's when the baby had died. So different things foretelling that somebody's going to die, and then different things that are signaling that somebody has already died. And they talk about in their beliefs to say that the natural world does acknowledge when somebody dies. So yeah, that's easy for me to accept and believe. But I wonder like what what your personal experiences are with this. I know I've had some weird experiences of death, and that um, my Oma shared some things with me. So I'm like wondering if it's like inherited or something. But I'm always assuming that, or not assume. I don't not one of those people that says I inherited powers from my grandmother or something. Um, I think a lot of people experience these things and just brush them off. Um, but I know that there was a few people in my life that have passed away, and there's 3 different instances of these of people that I've had dreams about them. Um, the first one I can remember is my Uncle Paul. He wasn't really my uncle; he was one of my dad's really good friends. And when I was a little kid, I remember dreaming about him and thinking about his house. He had dogs. So when I was a little kid, so I was like, oh, I want to go play with the dogs, even though I had this huge fear of dogs as a kid. So I don't know why I was excited to see them. There's something that wanted to that made this his house and his dogs and everything seem like somewhere I should be. Like it's like somewhere really exciting. And when I went to go tell my mom, she told me that been he had been murdered. He had a dubious past. So I'm not going to get into that. But when my war Oma died, I had a dream about her, and she only spoke German, so we weren't that close. It was hard for me to understand her. The only things I really knew how to say were "I love you," so I would just say it all the time, like "I love you." She would come to visit here, and when we went to go visit her in Berlin, and I had a dream, and she spoke English, that of seeing her finally for the first time as like a real woman who had struggled and who had been through so much. As beforehand, I had just seen her as, oh, that's my Oma. We always used to call her Oma in Germany. um, she's my great grandmother, Oma. Um, but I just viewed her not as an old woman that I loved, but I didn't know her well enough. I knew some stories about her, but we didn't have the connection I have with like my grandparents, sort of thing. Like I didn't know them well enough. You don't. Her voice still is in my head, and I have her smell and everything that I connected with. But then in this dream, I finally saw her as a human being, basically. Like it was like a not an epiphany, but sort of just like this mind expanding thing. Like this woman has so much more to her. There's so much she's been through. She's a real person. She's a woman. She's loved. She's given birth to 2 children. She's been through a war. She's done lots of different things. And then I think it was sometime during the week, and then my Opa told us that she died that Sunday. I think it was a Sunday. I think it was in high school. So she lived a really long life though, and I think she was ready to go because her husband had died a long time before then from a heart attack. So, and the last experience I had was with a friend who I sort of considered him a brother, because with my friends when I was in middle school and high school, I was always seen as everybody's like sister. Like I think the guys always told me like, "Oh, you're such like a little sister. You remind me of my sister." Anytime people told me I remind them of their mother, which wasn't really a compliment. That I was the one that they went through me to chase my friends, basically, because I think I was a little different than everyone else. Um, And I had a dream about him, and that we were really close in this dream and talking. And then when I woke up, my friends called me, and it was, you know, girls do that like three-way speakerphone thing or phone thing where you can call several people. And they told me that he had died, and I was like, oh, you guys are joking, blah, blah, blah. And he had really passed away. So I see these dreams that I've had as sort of a, I don't know if I would consider them a sign or an omen that someone has passed, because they had happened either right before with my grandma, and I think with the two others it had happened right after. So yeah, and I know that people have experience as well. I've known my Oma had a dream about somebody in her family, and that he had died, and I'm sure there's other experiences as well. She sometimes um, talks about different things, but then denies them later. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I haven't really asked anybody else what they think on different subjects such as this. Nobody really talks about it because I think they feel like they're even pagans. I think they feel sometimes like they're, it sounds crazy or something that they saw something, or that uh, like other people will say, oh, it's just a coincidence that I saw this thing, and then this person happened to die or happened to have died. But I want to hear what people have to say about it. I mean, it's really interesting. And I don't know. I think the spiritual world is the same as like the natural world is the same as the spiritual world kind of thing. They're either overlapped or interconnected or work together. I'm not going to discuss my views on that. It would take too long. So having dreams it's a natural thing for me to have dreams and for people to have dreams. So it is, in my opinion, the natural world acknowledging that a person has passed or is about to pass when you dream about them, and then they do pass, sort of thing. I've never, I don't know if I was not paying attention, and maybe something has been shown to me before, but I can't remember an instance of seeing an actual token, sign, or omen other than dreams before somebody passes away or is about to pass away. So I'd love to hear if you've actually experienced this or if you know any stories about it, because it's a really interesting concept, the idea that the natural world acknowledging death. And I believe in it. Yeah, I really do. It's something I'm going to think about more and probably form a stronger sort of idea on it. But for now, that's all. So yeah, feel free to comment. I might do another video if I get enough questions or comments so I can share with others. And thank you for watching.